every time I drive a Crosstrek, I think it's a really solid little subcompact car. Every time we do our best cars of the years, Crosstrek is always in our top 3, always pretty much number 1. Today we're talking about the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness. Yes, Subaru Crosstrek is the latest to get the Wilderness treatment. Now in the Subaru family, it's a really popular package. Just a quick reminder, the Wilderness package, it's an off-road, really for the trail, really for the adventure treatment offered by Subaru. We can find it on the Outback, the Forester, and now on the Crosstrek. The Crosstrek is really popular, especially here in Canada. With the Wilderness treatment now, it's even more interesting. You've got more off-road capacities with a bigger engine under the hood, especially if you live in the country with rough roads, just like here in Quebec. The Wilderness treatment is always a plus. So speaking of the price, the Wilderness model starts at $40,563 Canadian. And if you're in the US, it starts at $32,195. The model I was testing, it's pretty much the same price. When you're choosing the Wilderness model, it comes fully equipped with all the bells and whistles. It's not really complicated when you order this model. Under the hood of the Wilderness model, we can find a boxer engine. It's a 4-cylinder, 2.5 liter direct injection matched to a CVT transmission. This is good for 182 horsepower and 178 foot-pounds of torque. Good match for this type of size from my point of view. I'm not a big fan of the smaller engine. I think the smaller engine have a hard time to carry his weight, have a hard time to carry with the all-wheel drive system and all that. Obviously, it's a Subaru, so we've got the symmetrical all-wheel drive system, one of the best on the market, especially with this size of cars, and for that price, it's pretty much one of the best all-wheel drive you can get. Performance-wise, you can do the 0 to 100 kilometers in 8.5 seconds. 0 to 60 and 8.2 around that, and you can do the quarter mile in 16.4 seconds. Not the quickest of the line. Obviously, it's the entry level cars at Subaru. Once again, like I said, when you have a lower trim level with the 2-liter, it's pretty slow. 8.5 seconds. It's not really fast. It's just decent from my point of view. With the 2-liter, it's kind of like too slow. As usual, I've been driving this car for a full week. Driving the Crosstrek is pretty comfortable on the road, especially for this size of little hatchback, a little wagon car, I could say. But with the Wilderness treatment, you've got more traveling of the suspension. You've got a little bit more sidewall also with chunkier tires and all that. More traveling in the suspension. When you're in rougher roads like where I live, it's always a plus. We can see it right now on the screen. You get pretty much a good angle of departure and all that. If you have to use some trail, go to your cottage on the weekend, go skiing in the mountain and all that. Obviously, you've got more capacities with the Wilderness treatment and all that. Obviously, from my point of view, with this suspension and with this wheel setup, it's a little bit more comfortable than your typical Crosstrek. And especially it depends on the road you're driving on. If you have like smooth roads, always perfect, just like when I used to live in Florida, I think the Impreza RS, it will be a good type of car for this type of tarmac, I could say. But here I live in the country, close to a ski resort. We've got really rougher roads. So when you get more off-road capacities with bigger tires and better suspension like that, it's always a plus, especially where I live. Obviously, this car comes with 17 inches black wheels. Obviously, you've got all-terrain tires on the Wilderness model. They're not super aggressive like a truck, but you can definitely do a lot of things with those Yokohamas. I've been testing a lot those Wilderness models, especially the Forester and the Outback, in some, I could say, pretty challenging trail for a Subaru. I was really impressed with every time I'm invited to a Subaru event, especially the Wilderness event. We're pushing pretty hard those Subarus, and it's always really impressive what the symmetrical system can do. I've got a big background in trucks, 4x4 and all that, but these Subarus are always impressive, and I always make jokes to other manufacturers when we do off-road with some trucks or SUVs. We could have something a little more challenging where maybe a Subaru couldn't do this trail, and I always make jokes when we're in big trucks. And I remember I was driving a Ford F-250 Tremor, and I was like, we did like harder trail with Subarus than this Super Duty, and I like making jokes like that, but super impressive every time, we're testing those Wilderness models, especially in off-road condition. Definitely the team at Subaru Canada always bring their A game with their rally driver and pro driver, setting up like trails and tracks and roads for us. It's always super impressive from my point of view. So overall, impressive on the road. It's not the sharpest for the handling on the road. Obviously, if you're looking for more handling experience, the Impreza RS will be a better choice. But still, for an off-road oriented car, it's pretty decent, especially with the symmetrical system. It's always going to help you push it down the curve. With all the Wilderness models, you always have access to the X mode. So if you want to push it a little bit more in deep snow, deep muds and stuff like that, just on the screen, you can click on the X mode. So that brings even further the capacities of the all-wheel drive system. Exterior-wise, we've got the Wilderness treatment. Obviously, it's not for everyone. There's a lot of people who doesn't like that treatment. I found it more practical than pleasing to the eyes from my point of view, but I don't like that rugged look. We got a lot of big plastic all around in the front, on the side. If we've got extra fog lamps in the front, we've got those gold, orange, I could say it's more gold touches all around to tell you it's a Wilderness model, with the hooks in the front, big roof racks on the top. On the hood, you can see it's all matte black. This is to help you when you're down the trail to not having any flare from the sun coming to your eyes. So this is some off-road stuff. Also, it's a good-looking little Crosstrek. It looks rugged. We've got those big lettering in the back saying a Subaru. This is inspired by trucks from my point of view. You can see the stance. It's higher up. It's been lifted from normal, Crosstrek. Everything's been revised, the shocks and all that for this particular version of the Crosstrek. Obviously, you've got those Subaru Wilderness logos all around. The roof rails, the payload, it's 700 pounds. So if you're looking to do some overlanding and stuff like that, you can put some decent amount of weight and on the top, on the roof of this Crosstrek. Stepping inside of the Crosstrek Wilderness, once again, we've got the Wilderness treatment. We've got that really cool material for the seats. It's kind of like a leatherette, but easy to clean. Texture also, it looks good and it feels good also inside. We've got, bright colors, match bright stitching. We've got that big screen we can find inside of the Outback. So that's a big plus for an entry-level car. The screen works pretty well. It's not the sharpest, the brightest, but it works well. The cameras are not the best also. You have to get used to that screen. I think maybe next year or maybe in 2 years, if they do a good updates, it will be due to be sharper with the best one you can find on the road. Lately I had a lot of GM products, Fords and stuff like that with the latest system and screen. If you compare the latest screen, Kia, Hyundai and all that, Subaru is a little bit behind, but at least we have a decent size of screen, I could say, for this type of car. Otherwise, really comfortable, plenty of space, really practical inside of this Crosstrek. Even if I'm 6'3", more than 300 pounds, I feel really decent. It's by far one of my favorite little car in that segment. You know, I don't feel I'm inside of something really tiny and I feel kind of funny inside of this car. It's not the case inside of this Crosstrek. Plenty of space also in the rear seats for the kids. It's practical there. Even I'm pretty tall, you know, kids are able to fit behind myself. It's not the case for all those cars in that segment. Same thing for the trunk, decent amount of space. I really like those big, rugged wilderness carpets. That's part of the package. You know, you're dirty, you're doing some off-roading, so you can expect to have some dirt inside of your Crosstrek. So you get those big, rugged carpet, easy to clean. Same thing for all the seats and all that. So that's always a big plus when you're seeking adventures. Fuel economy wise, of course, we have the off-road treatment, so you can expect it's going to affect a little bit more the fuel economy. While I was testing the Crosstrek Wilderness, I was averaging between 9 to 10 liters per 100 kilometers. Obviously, that was during winter condition, winter tires and all that. So for my US friends, it's in between 23 to 26 mpg. Obviously, it might be a little bit more thirsty than any other cars in that same segment. But with the off-road capacities, you're looking at this Crosstrek Wilderness. I think the only competitor who comes to mind is the Jeep Compass Trailhawk. It was also pretty thirsty for the size, and it was pretty super expensive also. The value was not there for the Jeep. I think obviously the Crosstrek Wilderness will be a better choice. Better value for the price from my point of view. You can expect, you know, taking more fuel, especially, you know, you're higher off the ground. It's less aerodynamics. You're carrying more weight than your typical Crosstrek. Bigger wheels, bigger tires, you know, all that. You got the symmetrical all-wheel drive system, and the gearing is not the same for the Wilderness. You got a more aggressive gearing. You know, in truck terms, I call that the higher differential ratio. It's not the same for these cars, but basically the same. So you get a higher ratio to have more grip, more torque at low speed while doing off-road. So that's why you get not the same fuel economy for this version of the Crosstrek. What's pretty impressive for the Crosstrek Wilderness, you can tow up to 3,500 pounds when you have the cooler for the transmission. So that's pretty impressive. Usually in that segment, it's always like 1,000 pounds or something like that. And also for CVT transmission, it's always impressive to have these kind of numbers. I didn't test the wing. I'm pretty sure 3,500 pounds, it's pretty much the limit. You know, I wouldn't, with that engine and all that, maybe it won't be the best scenario to tow this amount of weight from my point of view, but still, it's capable and it's under warranty. So I guess this Crosstrek can do it. Obviously, this Wilderness model is fully loaded. So you get the latest high sight system and all that. That's going to help you to stay safe down the road. Overall, you know, every time I drive a Crosstrek, I think it's a really solid little subcompact car. Every time we do our best cars of the years, Crosstrek is always in our top 3, always pretty much number 1. Obviously, from my point of view, you have to step up for the bigger engine to have a decent amount of power to stay safe, I could say. Obviously, I'm a horsepower junkie, so for me, it's never enough power. But there's a certain point, not enough power can be dangerous, I could say, especially where I live. You know, we have like roads, they're, country roads where people gonna drive 100 kilometers, maybe 60 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour. and you have to do some quick acceleration to get on those roads. And sometimes when you don't have enough power, I feel it's kind of dangerous. Obviously, you have to get used to the power of your cars and all that. But there's always like slow and too slow from my point of view. And more and more cars are getting more performance, more horsepower, especially if we're looking at the EVs and all that. So I think, you know, with the Crosstrek, you have to go with the 2.5 liter. That's my point of view. But overall, really, really, really good value for the Crosstrek. Wilderness brings a complete new world, complete new capacities to go pretty much anywhere. Once again, if you live more in rugged area, rugged roads, going to the cottage, skiing on the weekend, camping, overlanding, biking, stuff like that, ready for the adventure. It's a pretty versatile little car and pretty capable. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about the Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness? Is it worth it to go for the Wilderness package? Do you think it's a good value? From my point of view, it's a good value. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and we're going to see each other in the next podcast.